Good evening. 2 weeks after he won a controversial referendum, Turkish President Erdogan is set to make his first foreign trip. He's coming to India on Sunday. And WION travelled to Ankara to get you an interview that sets the agenda for this visit. President Erdogan spoke to us about everything from the Kashmir dispute to India's United Nations Security Council bid, Turkey's objections to India's entry to the nuclear suppliers group, to the OIC's criticism of India. On Gravitas tonight, we bring you the highlights and examine what can be expected from this visit. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. The headlines first. After Trump warns of a major conflict, U.S. Secretary of State Tillerson tells the United Nations Security Council that America is not looking for regime change. They want Pyongyang to dismantle its nuclear program. Who will foot the bill for the THAAD? Trump says South Korea must pay $1 billion for the missile defense system. Seoul rejects the idea. Protesters stormed the Macedonian parliament and attacked lawmakers. More than 70 injured in the police action that followed. And public servants in Germany cannot wear the veil. The country's lower house passes a law partially banning the burqa. And also ahead on Gravitas tonight, we are bringing you a special report from Pakistan. Masood Azhar's organization Jaish-e-Mohammad has launched what is being called a jihad fundraiser, extorting farmers in Pakistan's Punjab. And US President Trump completes 100 days in office. We bring you the highlights. Less than 2 weeks after winning a referendum which confirmed him as Turkey's Ironman, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan touches down in Delhi on Sunday, his first foreign visit since the referendum. There is much to discuss. India-Turkey ties is something that of course will come up. Turkey is seen as supportive of the Pakistani line on Kashmir. It equates India with a proliferator like Pakistan while blocking Delhi's entry into the nuclear suppliers group. And Turkey is ambivalent about India as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. These are issues that are expected to come up in our exclusive interview with the Turkish president. One of the things that we discussed was the Kashmir dispute. This is what he said.
The nature of the dispute is different. There is a territorial dispute, and Pakistan is pursuing, as a state, her own thesis and her own arguments, and they're right. And India, as a state, is pursuing her own agenda and her own arguments, and they are right too.
The full interview will be aired on Saturday night at 9, and we are bringing you excerpts this evening. We also have with us Vivek, Katju, former diplomat, joining us from Gurugram, and Mohammad Behzad Fatmi. He's an associate fellow at the Turkish Institute with me here in the studio. Good evening to both of you. Mr. Katju, to you first. What do you make of the statement on Kashmir?
Well, I think the president is sticking to a traditional position, but he's trying to balance India and Pakistan. We also have to be cognizant that that Turkey has for long offered its services to mediate, which of course no Indian government will ever accept. The Turkish president has also, I think, felt, and this has been Turkey's position, that the civilian government in Pakistan wants good relations with India. All this is fine, but we can't overlook the fact that in Pakistan, unlike Turkey, the army calls the shots. In Turkey, the army used to call the shots, but the party that President Erdogan represents has been able to control the army over the last 2 decades. But no such process has taken place in Pakistan, and it's unlikely to take place. So I think during this visit, the Indian Prime Minister Prime Minister Modi will have to reiterate India's positions on Jammu and Kashmir.
Let me ask you this, Mohammad. To say that both India and Pakistan are right is, well, an ambivalent position, as Ambassador Katju said. What kind of a message does it send to India, to Delhi, just days before the visit?
It's a fact that over the years, Turkey has supported Pakistan's position on almost everything. It was with Pakistan's request that Turkey opposed India's bid to join the NSG. And Foreign Minister Çavuşoğlu also, when he was in Pakistan, he said, we fully support Pakistan's stand on Kashmir issue. And he also said that we would accept OIC's delegation if there is a delegation that could come to Kashmir and see the human rights violations going on there. We would accept the delegation to come to the valley and do that. So Pakistan and Turkey's relationship has been strong. With India, the relationship, just because of the Turkey's preference of the Pakistan policy and everything, they have been distant with what India has to say.
So this was only to be expected.
Yeah.
We also asked President Erdogan about why Turkey is blocking India's bid to find a place on the nuclear suppliers group, and this is what he had to say.
In terms of nuclear suppliers group, we have been supportive of India and we have been supportive of Pakistan similarly.
Vivek, Katju, this is an issue that will be on top of the agenda in the upcoming visit. Can India expect to make much headway on this, on the NSG issue, given what President Erdogan has just said?
I'm skeptical about our making any progress on this issue, on the NSG question. I think President Erdogan's government and President Erdogan himself is far too committed to Pakistan on this issue for him to be able to see the objective realities of the differences between the Indian nuclear program and the Pakistani program. The Pakistani program's genesis is through acquiring nuclear materials and technology through criminal acts. That's not been the Indian program. Also, the world looks at the Indian program differently. That is why we were given the exemption. But this is again, as the President himself has said, a quest for balancing India and Pakistan on the NSG issue. So I'll be very surprised if he changes this position as a consequence of his discussions in India.
What do you think? Do you believe Prime Minister Modi can influence him enough to...
Before I say that, I would like to add something. In 2015, the Turkish government banned all weapon manufacturing companies from selling lethal weapons to India. And that was not announced publicly. Companies like Aselsan, that was banned from selling lethal weapons to India, but that decision was taken just to appease our regional rival Pakistan. So clearly the Turkish government doesn't trust India on these issues and prefers Pakistan over everything. Now coming to the NSG bid, I really think, as Mr. Katju said, Turkey is far more committed to Pakistan's stand on many issues, not just this. And Pakistan has also been reciprocating what Turkey wants from them in terms of taking actions against the movement of Mr. Fethullah Gulen. Pakistan denied visas to the Turkish teachers in Pakistan.
That's an issue that has been raised with India.
Yes. So I mean, they have this mutual relationship and they have been exchanging goodwills with each other. So they have been doing it over years, and I don't really think, even if President Erdogan, when he's in Delhi, if he commits to anything, when he goes back to Pakistan, to Turkey, or if he goes to Pakistan anyway, he'd say something completely opposite. And he has done that previously as well, and I'd not be surprised if he does that again.
Right, I'll come to Gulen schools and we'll dwell on it in a bit, but I also want to play out one more reaction, one more soundbite from the Turkish president when he was asked about India's attempts to find a place on the United Nations high table, a permanent membership to the UNSC. This was his position.
The world is greater than 5. If it gets accepted by the world, India will become one of the permanent seat holders of the Council of Security Council at the UN.
Vivek, Katju, again a very vague statement of support, would you say?
Entirely true what you are saying. It is very vague, and it will not give us any comfort. The question during this visit will be that do we have any cards which we can play with Turkey? Of course, they have this entire feeling, and President Erdogan himself, about the Gulen movement. I don't know whether we have enough cards on that score. President Erdogan is coming as a very self-confident leader. He has just had success in the referendum. So that also will influence his thinking and will perhaps introduce an element of rigidity. Finally, there is this entire issue of West Asia, where I think he is in some difficulty despite everything on the Kurdish issue, on the whole Syrian question. But overall, I do not think that this visit will move Turkey from its deep commitment to Pakistan, and that is a commitment which goes back 7 decades. It is rooted in a relationship between the Pakistan army and the Turkish army and the modern avatar. As the Turks often say, it is rooted in faith. That's something that we've got to live with.
Do you see a shift in Turkey's position vis-a-vis India's UNSC bid?
They'd officially say that, and I think Turkey has also been saying that the UNSC should be reformed, and the world is bigger than 5. That is the phrase that President Erdogan uses. But in terms of as the history says, what their policy has been towards India, I'm not very optimistic about anything they're doing positive towards India.
Vivek, Katju, what else can we expect in terms of trade and defense ties?
Well, trade is something that I think has potential. There too, the Turks, I think their construction industry is strong, and they would like further opportunities in the Indian market. We are going to make investments in infrastructure, and they'll want a piece of the pie. Another issue that perhaps we can find some coincidence of interest is Afghanistan. The Turks have had long interest in Afghanistan, and there was a time when in the late 90s, when our thinking and the Turkish thinking on Afghanistan had some elements of coincidence. They were not too happy with the Pakistani role in Afghanistan. But that is one area that we should explore during the President's visit.
Mohammad, Fatmi, you mentioned Gulen schools, and Turkey has spoken about these institutions in India. If I'm not wrong, there are 9 such schools in India. Given the recent crackdown in Turkey, we understand how significant this is for President Erdogan personally. How do you see India navigating this one?
First of all, I'd like to give a background on the issue. President blames Gulen for being the mastermind of the coup and the movement members, the movement for orchestrating it. But the UK's foreign committee's report has said that there's no evidence to prove that. David Nunes of US House Intelligence Committee also said that. The chief of German intelligence agency also said this, that there's no evidence whatsoever to link the movement or Fethullah Gulen to the coup attempt. Now, starting from that, in Turkey, over 120,000 people, 120,000 people have been purged from their positions. Many teachers, military officers, police officers, we can understand. But what was the crime of, or what connection did teachers, academics, journalists have with the coup attempt that they have been purged, they have been removed from their positions. So Turkey is the worst jailer of journalists in the world, surpassing even China and Iran. 231 journalists are in jail right now, and 15 universities have been shut down. Over 1,000 schools have been shut down, just on the accusation that they belonged to the Gulen movement or whatever. And Gulen movement is not a violent, terrorist, radical organization that the government would like the world to believe. But then coming to, and they have been trying to convince all foreign governments in all countries around the world to crack down on Gulen institutions, including India. The record of the movement is there. The institutions, what they have been working is, Gulen movement is all about education, dialogue and charity work. That is what the Fethullah Gulen preaches, and that is what the people who are inspired by him do in India and in other countries as well.
So how do you see India reacting?
I mean, as a democratic country, as a country which respects rule of law, I think India should not be taking any action against the movement in India and the good works that the movement has been doing in the country.
Vivek, Katju, another sticky issue is with regards to Cyprus. It has raised the border dispute and asked India to discuss it with the Turkish president. How do you see that going?
Were you asking me about this Gulen movement?
No, about Cyprus raising the border dispute. Do you think that India is going to bring that up in talks?
I'm sorry, the line wasn't very clear. The border dispute with Pakistan, or
No,
is this
Cyprus and Turkey?
With China?
The Cyprus-Turkey border dispute. Cyprus has urged India to raise it.
Should. No, I know. No, now it's clear. No, I think we should steer far clear of it. We shouldn't get involved either in Turkey's disputes in its neighborhood. It, after all, maintains a certain position on India's difficulties within its neighborhood. Also, on the Gulen movement, we should not take any positions. These are matters which are internal to Turkey. As far as the movement, schools and other things in India are concerned, I am of the clear view that we should evaluate the schools' activities and the activities of the other Gulen institutions in the light of our own laws. And if they are infringing our laws, then we should take action, but we should not be dictated by by the Turks. Yes, these are cards that have to be played in diplomacy, and at the moment the Turks are being rigid, but let us see what the future holds.
And a lot also depends on personal equations when it comes to diplomacy, and you as a former diplomat would understand more than anyone else. Vivek, Katju, do you see any commonality between these two personalities, Narendra Modi and President Erdogan?
I have always been a little skeptical on the personal chemistry bit and the role that plays in the unfolding of relations between states. It is important. It is very important that the leaders of countries who sit across the table have no antipathy towards each other. That smoothens the path of relations. It also occasionally plays a role in moving the relations in a positive direction. However, when it comes to larger issues, more fundamental and basic issues, then all leaders are governed by their perception of their national interest. That has been my experience as a diplomat, and I think we've got to look at coincidence of interests, how to see that interests coincide, and the personalities of the leaders plays a role, but I think on the periphery.
Fair enough. Vivek, Katju, Mohammad, Fatmi, thanks very much for joining us and sharing your thoughts on this discussion. Meanwhile, Turkey's president is also cracking down harder at home, suspending thousands of real or imagined political opponents. Even Europe seems to leave him cold. Here's a look at where he's taking his country.
Sayın Bahçeli ile de görüşeceğim. Days after winning the referendum that gives him sweeping, unprecedented powers, Turkey's President Erdogan has launched another crackdown on those he suspects are against him. The new lot swept up in his crackdown are 9,000 policemen, including more than a dozen tasked with protecting him. They were accused of being supporters of Gulen, the US-based cleric who Erdogan claims poses a threat to Turkey's national security. Earlier, 3,000 people were detained. They included over 1,000 charged with being secret imams. The detentions has worsened Erdogan's ties with Europe. Turkey is on the EU's watch list, and it is accused of compromising human rights and the rule of law. Europe's reaction may matter little to Erdogan. Ties with the continent have been deteriorating for many years, mainly over the EU's refusal to admit Turkey into the grouping. Rather, Erdogan may see himself as one pole of world politics, with Russia and the US each making up the other ends. Bureau Report.
And the fact that he's starting the new chapter in his presidency with a visit to India should be seen as significant. We're taking a break with that. Ahead on the show, Jaish-e-Mohammed, for the record, banned in Pakistan, is extorting money from farmers to fund jihad. A special report coming up.